Good morning, good day, or good evening, depending on when you're tuning in. It's a pleasure to see you, and it's so nice of you to join us. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Ina, the CEO of ActiveChat, and I'm joined today by Andrew. You've already seen him in our previous
Hi
podcasts.
guys.
Podcast. Hi, Andrew. He will be backstage helping me with the comments and the questions, so please feel free to ask if you have any concerns or questions, or if something I'm talking about is curious to you, Andrew will help, and maybe he will pop in closer to the end of the podcast to talk and provide his insight. Andrew, I will
Absolutely.
put you backstage now, and we'll talk it later. Okay, so again, I'm Ina, and today I would love to talk to you about why you should care about AI. Funny thing is, as much as AI is making a lot of noise right now in the popular media, in practically everywhere, every space, but be it business, be it technology advancements, be it something game related, a lot of people still don't fully understand what it is, and why it is important. Specifically in the artist space, a lot of people are against AI because, well, generative AI, image generation, AI is taking a lot of work from people. But in the context of contact centers, in the context of customer support, in the context of IT in general, AI is an incredibly powerful tool. And I spoke to two of our customers today, and both of them, coming from quite big enterprises, came to me saying, listen, I've heard this thing about these AI chatbots, and a lot of people are raving about them. Like, they are so good, or like they're so complex to set up. And I've heard it on and on and on, like I have to use it, I have to implement it, and I have no idea what it is. So I thought, let's wrap it into a podcast episode. Let's talk about why you should care about AI in general, large language models in particular, within the spectrum of contact centers. And obviously, we will be doing this with some examples or references to ActiveChat because it's kind of the tool we have, the tool we use. But it's not about ActiveChat. It's more about AI and our own personal fascination with it. So let's begin. And again, please don't hesitate to ask some follow-up questions in the comments. Andrew will help me answer them, or we will do a Q&A session at the very end as well. So let's start by talking about the contact center landscape. And I need to preface this by saying that my presentation skills are not very good. I mean, PowerPoint presentation skills. So you'll have to stick to text versions and me talking. I'm very sorry. But let's talk. Contact center landscape is currently changing. It is still in the process of this pivot since the beginning of COVID back in 2020, 2021. The traditional offices, the contact center are transitioning from the traditional offices to digital platforms. And they are abolishing basically physical offices and phone based communications. Companies are embracing globally distributed teams focusing on enhancing the customer experience in a digital landscape. And half of the reason is because globally distributed teams are usually cheaper, because if you're sitting in a country with a high cost of living, it is much more comfortable for you to hire someone from a country with a lower cost of living and keep paying them like minimal wages. And it will not affect your customer support budget that much. But still, it poses a lot of challenges, including language barriers, location and time zones, that sort of thing. The shift towards remote work that we've seen accelerated by the COVID-19 pandemic requires new approaches in training, communication, and collaboration. Right now, a lot of people that have been moved to remote, a lot of call center representatives, for example, but we're obviously talking in general, pretty much any profession that doesn't require physical labor, they've moved to working at home since COVID and now are refusing more or less to return back to the offices because, as many of you might have noticed, it is actually much more comfortable to work from home because you're cutting cost and time on traveling, on commutes. It's much more comfortable in terms of productivity because there are no other distractions around you, unless obviously you have children or pets that demand your attention. But in general, this shift towards remote work is very, very significant and it keeps growing. Since 2020, talking about digital first engagement, there has been a notable acceleration also in online interactions between companies and customers. About 57% of customers across all generations now prefer digital channels for engaging with the company. So messengers, emails, rather than in-person appearance in the office or phone calls. And around 78% of customers use multiple channels to complete transactions, with 83% expecting immediate interaction regardless of the contact method, be it social media, WhatsApp, basically messengers like WhatsApp, Facebook, Telegram, SMS, Twilio, calls, emails, etc. The complexity, though, of the customer conversations has risen with a 50% increase in calls marked as difficult and a 68% rise in issues escalation since 2021. So basically, the questions that people are coming to the support teams with are getting more difficult to resolve. They are getting more complex, more, let's say, composite. And yet, customer patience is decreasing, with 66% of customers becoming less tolerant to slow adaptation to changing expectations. Yet a significant 95.5% still desire the option to talk to a human being in case a specific chatbot is incapable of resolving their question, or let's say an FAQ page is not enough. By the way, I'm taking all of these numbers from a report done by, let me check, by the CX Today. So there are links in the presentation in case you're interested, the names of the articles and the reports I'm taking this information from. So basically, to recap, since 2020 to 2021, the difficulty of the questions has risen, the amount of the questions has risen, the expectations the customers have towards the contact center agents has also risen, yet the customer's patience has decreased significantly. Partially is because of the COVID and all of the stress levels rising very, very high, but also in general because of the speed at which we consume information, the sheer amount of information that we are consuming through social media, for example, say the visual media like TikTok or Instagram, right? You're getting used slowly to scrolling very fast to consume a lot of data very quickly. So because of that and some other factors, customers' patience towards receiving the response to their question, even if it's a very complex one, has decreased significantly, which puts a lot, very, very, very much pressure on the customer support agents, which leads to high turnover rates. The average turnover rate in call centers ranges between 30 to 45%, and that is a lot. And it indicates a challenging work environment and the need for more efficient operational models and generally a rework of the entire structure. Also, apparently, according to the CX Today report, about 73% of companies are enhancing their efforts in personalizing customer service, but also around 60% of customers in this report, that's specifically the UK customers, but this trend could be actually seen across all of the Western countries, including the United States, Western and Central Europe, prefer solving issues independently rather than contacting a center, an agent, a manager. What this means is if you've been to a, well, significantly bigger grocery store than your usual corner store, you could have seen the self-checkout, basically. People are preferring them, and they're getting more and more popular, distributed across more and more stores, more and more chains in different countries, because people prefer the speed at which you can just walk in, check out your product, pay with card, and walk out. No small talk needed, no kind of interaction with humans needed. Quick, efficient, and the only person that you rely upon is yourself, not someone else. So this trend is also kind of is applicable towards self-service within the support industry, even if we're talking about finances, if we're talking about medical, if we're talking about law or legal kind of niche, if we're talking about IT. It's easier for everyone to go through documentation and only contact support if something is extremely unclear or you have a question that hasn't been answered yet. So, and we're moving to the impact of AI and automation. The adoption of AI chatbots could potentially save up to 80 billion in staffing costs per year for contact centers by 2026. That's 2 years from now, with predictions of increasing to around 240 billion in annual savings by 2031. And more than half of contact centers, 51.8%, have strategies centered around AI deployment, primarily driven by the goal of increasing customer satisfaction and reducing contact rates already, right now. And that is kind of the key point. 50% of companies, roughly, have already strategized towards automating most of their customer support or customer facing workflow, because it doesn't necessarily concern support only. It also concerns marketing and sales. So 50% of companies have already strategized on how to implement the AIs. The thing is, there's no such thing in this concept of being too late, but there is a thing of being not soon enough. What I'm trying to say is, yes, you can take a very careful approach, wait until everything is tested 100%, all of the stable releases are there, everything is done, tried and true, but that would happen probably in a year, 2 years, 3 years. By that time, you can still only start in, say, 2026. You can still start. You don't really have to rush. But when you do, at that stage, in 2026, for example, 80% of the companies will be already running on complete automation, which means that while you are just starting out, just learning the workflows, just trying to figure out how to integrate them into your own business, into your own contact center, how to train your employees, etc., your competitors are already doing that. They already know everything. They already know how it works. They already know how to implement it. They probably have already come up with a very custom solution for their business specifically. So you will not be too late. You can still get into the game 2 years from now, but you will not be soon enough either. And just a final point on the contact center landscape, approximately 75% of contact centers have transitioned to cloud-based solutions, allowing for more strategic and business-oriented operations. However, many are seeking to upgrade to more advanced services and host everything on premise, for example, to have full control over the data, to adhere to all these specific certifications and privacy policies that are required for their niche specifically, and the growth of contact center as a service, CCaaS, is a testament to this trend, with the market projected to reach a valuation of 19.8 billion by 2031, which moves us to the topic of the advancements and realities of AI and large language models in contact centers. And please do feel free to ask follow-up questions right now so Andrew could help you with them if you have any questions in regards to specifically the landscape of the contact centers in 2023, as we're reaching very closely the end of the year. And I will just keep talking. So let's talk about large language models in contact centers. Large language models, I will probably shorten it as LLM because it's a tongue twister. Large language models like ChatGPT are creating significant impact in the technology sector, especially in contact centers. They can quickly produce human-like, high-quality content, showing the potential of AI in diverse applications. However, LLMs have limitations, particularly in providing specialized or company-specific information, underscoring the need for their careful implementation within the scope of customer support, contact center, sales, marketing, etc. And here is exactly where the LLM orchestration comes in. The LLM orchestration that we've already talked about in previous episodes, but let me just recap the LLM or large language model orchestration refers to the process of managing and coordinating the operation of one or more large language models, or in this case, I would say it would be more significant to work with AI orchestration as a whole, basically manage multiple different AI models, AI engines, to achieve maximum flexibility and the ultimate customer care satisfaction rates, which means that you will have to inevitably combine multiple engines into one. So, for example, natural language processing and let's say large language models to split the two very different questions, or rather, the very different answers into two categories. So, for example, what I'm trying to say, natural language processing understands very specific phrases and keywords and provides very specific responses, either textual responses or, for example, in our case, in case of ActiveChat, the natural language processing engine is capable of also launching specific scenarios. This is important for cases when you need to provide extremely specific data. For example, in legalese, right, in, say, medical sphere, in medical niche, you need very, very specific data, while large language models have the tendency to paraphrase a lot and add on top. But if we're talking about something generic, narrowed down to the global company information, the privacy policies, terms of service, manuals, documentation, etc., you can use large language models to kind of free flow answer questions, whichever they are. But in case you need a very specific action taken, like, for example, I need to be unsubscribed, or I need you to close my account, or something along those lines, you will probably need to use natural language processing. It's a different engine, but you will have to kind of find a way that will combine those two and plus some maybe analytics, data clustering, etc., into one cohesive workflow. That's, by the way, what we do at ActiveChat. Just saying, you have a good chance of trying it out. If you reach out to us at activechat.ai, I will be happy to give you a tour. But again, not a sales pitch, just saying. Fundamental changes expected in 2024. Advanced large language model technologies are anticipated to fundamentally change how contact centers operate. Their integration into platforms like Parloa is expected to enhance the quality of dialogues between customers and contact centers. So basically, again, AI orchestration to achieve the ultimate perfect customer and business dialogue. To address challenges such as skill shortage and high employee turnover rates, many companies are already embracing conversational AI. The shift towards automation aims to improve service quality significantly, and it already does, and I will touch upon the kind of statistics of the improvements a little later down the line. And for the AI to be effective, all technical components and processes must be aligned. Again, routing back to AI orchestration, and I cannot stress it enough how important it is. The seamless integration of multiple different engines into one workflow. 2024 is set to establish new standards for high-quality automated dialogues in contact centers, with AI being considered in the holistic interaction of infrastructures, processes, and people. And that is something to keep in mind. Now, turning to the impact again, for this specific chapter, please feel free to ask the questions in the comments while I'm moving on. The impact of AI in contact centers. Let's start with the applications. Where can you use that at all? I've talked a lot right now about customer support. I've talked a lot about sales. AI in contact centers serves various functions, including automating routine processes, providing virtual agents for live chat, delivering personalized experiences, and offering predictive analysis and analytics. These functions enhance both employee and customer experiences. So in our case, for example, what we do is we data cluster the topics the users are talking about to kind of combine them into specific segments so you can see what your users are talking about the most within a specific period, for example, to understand the most painful kind of issues within the documentation, maybe some information that is missing from your documentation, or maybe some downtimes, that sort of thing. But also, when the chat gets escalated to a live chat agent, we provide hints to that specific live chat agent so that they can quickly assess the situation and quickly reply without the need to, let's say, input the entire paragraph. And instead of quick replies, which I admit, as a customer support agent myself, in the previous years, let's say, quick replies are actually very comfortable, but you still have to remember them. You have to remember shortcuts, you have to remember keywords, you have to search for them, especially if it's a big company and a lot of different topics are being discussed. You have to really, really search for a very specific template to paste it and send it to the user. If we're talking about email communication, obviously that is less of a problem, but if we're talking about live chat, when the response is estimated or expected to arrive pretty much instantly, it's difficult. So what we do is we train the chatbot to basically understand everything from your documentation, from your manuals, from your templates, from your previous conversational histories, and provide the most relevant hint to the live chat agent within seconds. So they don't really need to remember any keywords, any shortcuts, or anything else. They don't need to search. The answer is right there. But again, just saying, companies using AI in customer experience initiatives have seen a 57.3 increase in customer sentiment ratings. AI also improves customer service by offering quick resolutions to issues via web chat or text messaging virtual assistants. Again, that's routing back to the overall trend of people switching from phone calls and in-person communication to talking via messengers. We're all kind of moving in general to communication via messengers or social media. And this is something to keep in mind for extremely customer-facing niches for their own comfort to increase the customer satisfaction rate. AI tools automate call center quality monitoring, allowing for a better view of agent performance and customer experience too. They reduce customer wait time by addressing simple tasks like bill payments, password resets, FAQs, and ensure 24/7 availability. That also includes, let's say, a customer has a specific problem which cannot be handled by AI. But the AI could ask preliminary questions like, why this, why that, which steps did you take? Could you please provide screenshots? When did this happen? Does the issue still persist, etc., etc.? So when the chat goes to a live chat agent, is eventually escalated, the agent already has all of the information at hand. They don't need to ask all of those preliminary questions over and over again, like, have you tried to plug it out and plug it in? Have you tried to turn it off and turn it on, etc.? So this is also in terms of convenience. Predictive routing, talking about advanced AI technologies, uses real-time metrics for faster decision-making and improved customer satisfaction. Sentiment analysis, customer self-service through AI-powered virtual assistants, predictive analysis for proactive customer engagement, voice transcriptions technology, and so on and so forth are other significant AI advancements that you should definitely look into depending on what niche you are in or your business is in, and what specific kind of requirements your contact center is in need of. Case study in action, AI in action. A global software company utilized AI to handle customer complaints, aiming to resolve cases without human intervention. This approach, according to the report, again, I'm not, sorry, I cannot see my own screen right now. It's a bit too small of a font, but the link is there for the report on this global software company. The approach resulted in an 11% improvement in customer satisfaction, a 90% success rate in resolving complaints via AI, and a 25% reduction in support staff required for handling complaints. 25% for a large-scale company is an extremely successful rate. from our own case study from one of our clients in the legal sector. And let me tell you, it's quite a big company tackling very complex and user-specific legal questions. So not just company-specific, but user-specific as well. On the daily basis, we can see a 112% increase in the level of automation, meaning the kind of the amount of AI intervention they are using at this stage throughout the year, and a 23% decrease in the number of sessions routed to the live chat agents, which, considering the fact that it's legal niche, right, the law niche basically, and the questions are extremely complex and user specific, is also a staggering amount. And that's kind of the power of AI that happened from 2022 to 2023. And let me also mention that we didn't introduce large language model orchestration until recently. So the majority of these results are dependent on pure natural language processing, basic decision tree based scenario builder, and live chat, which is already very impressive. And now that we've introduced large language model orchestration, these numbers will increase. Well, the agent sessions number hopefully will decrease even more if we're talking about that. And again, speaking of AI orchestration, large language model orchestration, and that sort of thing. The Earth, the planet Earth, is held by 5 elephants, according to some myths and legends. The world of contact centers is held by, right now, humans, analytics, AI, and scenarios. In our case, it's just humans, scenarios, and AI. Obviously, that AI could be broken down into many more different genres because we utilize many more different kind of aspects of different AI engines, but still, 3 major pillars, I would say. Human, as in live chat, as in agents, AI, and some kind of simple automations like scenarios, templates, that sort of thing. 2 to 3 weeks ago, OpenAI, which could be considered a part of the AI sector, nearly combusted. And at that overnight without any warning, basically, any pretext. Which means that the applications thankfully didn't, yes, but which means that the applications currently dependent on the OpenAI's API and using the ChatGPT within their processes would have been out of business, again, overnight without a warning. Because in the modern world, with the speed of development of technology, companies do have tendencies to kind of combust sometimes, unfortunately. Or the servers could be down, or there could be some kind of network issue, or something like that. Which means that if you're solely relying on one specific model, and we're not talking about OpenAI in general, I'm just saying a technology. If you're relying on one technology specifically, or one technology stack, there is not only kind of the not only the risk of being stuck with something that you kind of depend on their own roadmap. You have to demand some specific features. You have to adhere to what they basically have to offer without being able to diversify your own kind of performance based on what features they have, but also it poses a risk in terms of what if something goes wrong. In our case, since we have 3 major pillars, even if one of them for some reason gets offline, we still have the 2 to kind of pick up the workflow. But that also includes the LangChain integration that we have that allows you to plug out any large language model and plug in a different one. There are thousands of them already. We're talking about, obviously, ChatGPT, Llama, Bard, models from AI21, etc., but the further the technology progresses, the cheaper it is to make it, the easier it is to make it as well. So you can practically download a large language model from Hugging Face at this moment, which means that the competition will grow. Each of those companies, the bigger companies, the smaller companies, will try to one-up each other every time, year after year, or even day after day, honestly, since we can see just the moment ChatGPT introduced some of the new advancements within their technology, talked about QStar, Google advertised Gemini. Granted, Gemini turned out to be a lie, but still, even if it works, or if and when it works, it will be a huge step towards full automation. So let's say you want to try everything. You want to try every single model and see which one works best for you, which one better kind of consumes the information, the localized information specific to your company. You will have to kind of play around with all of them one by one. And why do that separately? Why train your users or your staff on each model separately, on each interface separately, if you can do that within an LLM orchestration tool, like ActiveChat, for example? So you can just plug and play with any model, whichever one you fancy, even your own custom one, and that will not disrupt the general workflow of your performance. Because while you're switching out models, you also have live chat, you also have basic scenarios, you also have the structure already in place to try it out. That could be achieved as well by through LangChain, for example, but LangChain is a bit more technically demanding. So that is something to kind of keep in mind. Why hesitating on AI adoption is no longer an option is also kind of the question I'm getting a lot in that regard. And let's start by dispelling common misconceptions. AI is designed to collaborate with, not compete against human capabilities. It excels at tasks that require speed and scale, while humans excel at critical thinking. So AI elevates jobs rather than completely automates them. It assists, amplifies, elevates employees in their roles. The focus is shifting towards reskilling rather than replacement. About 50% of employees will need reskilling by 2025 and up to 90% by 2030, highlighting the importance of learning and development in the AI era. So all of the talks of AI replacing humankind and forcing people out of their jobs, it is scary. Yes, it is, well, quite dubious in terms of when this process will end. But from an ex-customer support perspective myself, this is not what is happening. No matter how good AI seems to be, how easy it will be to implement, we'll still need human expertise, because AI is capable of compiling kind of a set of data, a specific piece of information based on the prompt. You will still need someone to formulate the prompt. You will still need someone to fully understand the context of the conversation within very specific kind of situations, especially when we're talking about business specific situations, right? Company specific situations. We'll still need humans to verify the results, like data allocation as is going on right now. We'll still need humans to verify all of the images where you can see a bus, a bike, or a fire hydrant, if you're thinking about CAPTCHA, and so on and so forth. So while it seems very apocalyptic and Skynet kind of situation, it is not what is happening. AI is here to enhance the capabilities that the people have and spare us some time. The rise of AI and robotics will rehumanize, not dehumanize, the workforce. As AI takes on more routine tasks, employees can focus on complex interactions that require emotional intelligence and empathy, which AI hopefully will never be capable of having. And speaking of the urgency of adoption of the AI, it holds the potential to significantly transform contact centers, offering faster response times for customers and lower costs for businesses. However, the high cost of training and maintaining AI models have been a barrier, which is now being overcome with advancements in the technology, which I mentioned earlier. the large language models themselves are becoming cheaper and faster to develop. So a lot of smaller companies, smaller than Google, than Amazon, than Meta, OpenAI, etc., will also enter the market and try to compete with their own products. Natural language processing and large language models are breaking barriers, eliminating the need for extensive model training and reducing costs, thereby facilitating mass market AI adoption in contact centers. Transparency in using AI will be critical in 2024. Customers increasingly expect honest communication, and brands will need to balance human empathy with the efficiency of AI. A collaborative approach between human and automated services is essential here. So the combination of human empathy and judgment with AI speed will empower the agents and enable higher level of customer satisfaction. Business leaders are advised to build existing strategies around AI, leveraging technology from scaled providers like Amazon, Google, IBM, etc., can help streamline costs and enhance service quality without the need for in-house AI development. But again, in-house AI development is getting cheaper and much more available. So that is also an option. And probably by the end of 2024, a lot of companies will look into developing their own custom large language models. So, oops, let me switch the slide. The cost of delaying the adoption of AI. The contact center industry faces challenges such as high employee turnover, as we've mentioned previously, low first contact resolution rates, and excessive technology tools, leading to customer dissatisfaction. A significant gap exists between customers' expectations and contact centers' capabilities, especially with the rise in demand for service across multiple channels like email, web chat, messaging, and social media. Lack of engagement among agents and inefficient technological solutions have resulted in poor customer satisfaction and business loss. In fact, 91% of customers reported worsening customer experience in the recent years, and half of the reason is, as we discussed in the beginning, the fact that the rate of complexity of customers' questions is rising, but the patience is getting down. And obviously, all of the larger companies are looking to cut costs. So the number of agents remains the same. The number of requests rises, the difficulty rises, the pressure rises. Hence, we have a 91% of customers reporting worsening of customer experience. Be humane. Let your agents have the AI tools to help them out. As an ex-AI agent, please do that. Do them a service. But delaying AI adoption can exacerbate the issues mentioned above as consumer demands grow more complex, leading to increased agents' workload with fewer employees to handle requests due to turnover rate. Without AI, contact centers face difficulty in streamlining workflows, shortening resolution times, and combating agent fatigue. Please implement AI. I'm begging you. The benefits, on the other hand, of the AI application like conversational AI, chatbots, predictive call routing, AI-powered agent assist, they can transform the workflow, improving both agent performance and customer experience. AI applications such as natural language processing and automated email handling, for example, when carefully chosen and implemented, can significantly improve operations. Properly trained, and that is important, properly trained and integrated AI applications are crucial to enhance the performance overall, the overall agent performance and customer service. They can offer predictive analytics, sentiment analysis, and automated responses, leading to better outcomes, which means that basically on the fly, the AI is capable of analyzing how the end user, is feeling about the conversation and whether or not they are satisfied with the service. And if, let's say, a specific level of satisfaction is dropping below a certain rate, the AI would, in this specific scenario, call upon a human agent to prevent the end user from potentially churning. AI can reduce the learning curve for agents as well, by the way, and generally not just be implemented customer facing, but also internally within the team to onboard new agents, to onboard new employees overall, to compile reports, to do analytics per agent, per department, per I don't know, team, that sort of thing. And that enables the teams to adapt quickly to the omni-channel platforms provide personalized customer service. AI applications must be well integrated into the workflows to avoid creating data silos and complicating processes. The right AI applications can assist agents during customer interactions, and being implemented in a very smooth workflow is incredibly important, because one of the biggest challenges when you're working in a large team in a large company is that you have a lot of solutions, a lot of tools that you're using, which end up being scattered across your workflow and across your workspace. You have 100 tabs open, you have to keep track of different applications, different kind of solutions. The smartest approach here would be to collect everything under one roof so that the agents have just one interface to work with. The larger CRMs are doing the same, like, say, Salesforce, for example, or Microsoft, I think Dynamics are doing the same as well. But again, those are quite costly in operations, and that depends, like the solution, the choice of the solution, which one to use is dependent on kind of your requirements and your personal budget of your company. Strategic integration in contact centers. So basically, we've talked about why, now let's talk about how. And I promise to be brief. First and foremost, you need to understand the goals of your customer service. Determine the objectives like quicker response times or improved customer satisfaction. Identify areas for improvement, such as response waiting times or problem resolution, and align AI implementation with these goals to enhance the existing operations. Selecting the right AI technologies. You have to assess your contact center's needs and consider AI technologies like natural language processing, machine learning, large language models, etc. Choose scalable AI solutions. That is extremely important because you can integrate them seamlessly with the existing systems like CRMs and ERP software. Training and support. You need to train AI systems to understand your product and service specifically. And that is very important to understand, because large language models, no matter how good they are to an untrained eye, they're large. And large stands for the amount of data, basically, and the amount of data sets that the model has access to, which means that they have a lot of very broad, very generic data. And if you're asking something like how much, they would probably not be capable of answering that question, because it's not, their data sets are not business specific. So what is important to understand is when choosing a specific model and training it, you need to pay attention to the knowledge management. You need to pay attention to kind of handling the training in making it very company specific, very policy specific. In our case, for example, it's called knowledge management subsequently. And you can just dump basically all the documentation that you have, links, docs, PDFs, etc., and narrow the information pool down to the documentation that you have. So tutorials, FAQs, existing conversations or logs of conversations, etc., etc. And when the customers will be coming to ask questions, the bot will understand specifically that, hey, they're asking questions about this company. This is the kind of block of information that I have on this company. And if I don't know the answer according to this block of information, according to this data set, then I will tell them that I don't have access to kind of information on the topic you're asking about. Let's route you to a human agent, rather than inventing something similar or close but not close enough from the broader kind of broader data set of all the general AI knowledge that exists within a certain model from a certain vendor. You also have to clearly define roles for AI and human agents to ensure a seamless customer experience. Again, AI is here to help agents, not to replace them. Agents are there to train the AI, not to be replaced by it. So it is very important to communicate this change to your agents as well as your management, depending on kind of which level you are within the company, so that everyone understands how the new workflow should be working. Um, Measuring success is also a very important thing. You'll have to define the key performance indicators, the KPIs, to measure the success of AI implementation, like reduced first response time, reduced final response time, as in the closure of the ticket, increased customer satisfaction rates, etc., etc. And you'll have to regularly track and evaluate these KPIs to tweak the settings within your bots, within your virtual assistants, to ensure the ultimate performance. Or best case scenario, you'll also have to do A/B testing and track KPIs across different segments of your users. Privacy and ethical considerations are also a very important thing. You will have to ensure compliance with data protection regulations and maintain transparency with the customers, informing them that they are communicating with an AI. And um, also, by the way, speaking of data protection, privacy, and ethical considerations, on-premise hosting is probably the best option when it comes to utilizing some kind of chat solutions in any case, because you will be having the full access and full control over data, unlike when you're using a SaaS solution, which means that they have your end users' data within their database. So my advice: use on-premise. That is the future that we have for the generally pretty much every aspect of IT, especially now when, say, Amazon or streaming platforms like Amazon are basically telling you that, yeah, you paid for this movie. And obviously, this example is very primitive, but still, this tendency is unfortunately very clear across global corporations. Say you purchased a movie on Amazon, first you had to continue paying subscription to keep access to that movie. And now what they're saying is, you know what, you didn't purchase it, you rented it. We're deleting it from your library because we have a change of heart. Which means that relying on SaaS is not necessarily a good idea when the entire contact center is hanging kind of and being dependent on a specific service. That is kind of the reason why we switched to on-premise licensing, and you buy it once, you keep it forever. Also, to adhere to all of the safety protocols, to all of the privacy specifics, privacy within different niches, because every niche requires different certifications and different control over the data and access to the data. So, and also hosting on different servers. Some require US, some require European Union, et cetera, et cetera. So for those specific reasons, we've personally switched to on-premise hosting. And that leads me to the conclusion, because I know I've talked a lot, but this podcast in the whole is our excuse to live AI, laugh AI, and love AI, because honestly, AI is the passion of ours, and we want to kind of make it accessible and easy for everyone to understand, to use, and to benefit from. So, in conclusion, traditional contact centers are transitioning to digital cloud-based platforms with a focus on AI and automation. AI technologies such as chatbots and predictive analytics are improving the efficiency of contact centers, reducing operational costs, and increasing customer satisfaction. And the cost of delaying AI adaptation is rising day by day, and that includes both the budget and the missed opportunities for improved customer service and operational efficiency. I strongly suggest you play around with at least some of the AI solutions on the market, for example, ActiveChat, to try it out now and to see how you can implement it now at this stage rather than in a year or two, because even though you won't be too late, you might not be soon enough. And that concludes my TED Talk. Thank you. Andrew, do you have something to say? Do we have any questions that need answering?
Yeah, Ina, can you
Yep.
hear me?
Yep.
Cool. Thank
Hey.
you so much. Actually, I have been listening to what you have been talking about, and although I know almost all of this stuff, it's nice how you can structure this and put everything in the right place. So my question would be actually, what would you advise, like some kind of a roadmap for a person who is approaching introducing this new AI tech, like large language models, assistants, and so on? How should they approach this process when it is applied to a contact center in a medium to large enterprise?
Hmm. Let's first specify what kind of position that person is in. Is it kind of higher
Head of contact
management?
center,
Head of
head of
contact
customer
center.
service, something
Okay.
like this. Yeah.
Okay. First things first, you have to kind of determine the problems or the pains that your contact center is having at this right moment. So, for example, analyze the first response times, the customer satisfaction rate, so basically all the statistical data, and check with the maybe higher management, maybe with your own kind of goals to see, let's say our first response time is 1 minute and 52 seconds. We would like to shorten down. So mark all of the aspects that need to be improved. And based off of that, start looking into different specific large language models, or rather AI tools that will be capable of improving that particular metric, that particular KPI. But if we're talking about, if you don't have the specific goal in mind, but rather you see this hype train, you want to jump on it, the probably the best approach would be to feed a chatbot with all of the data that you have. Obviously, that is public since you're just trying it out, since you're just testing. So all the public data like FAQs, documentation, etc., and give it to the new hires. New hires are usually the best people to kind of find the loopholes, the missing data, because they not only have questions as customer facing, because again, they're new hires, they only joined the company, they have no idea how everything works, but they also have questions from the backend point of view, how this or that is kind of being created specifically. We've utilized this approach for our own new hires multiple times by basically directing them right away to a bot. Don't ask me, go ask the bot. If the bot cannot answer, tell
Cool.
me, I will add that to the bot and then go ask the bot. But this actually really helps in terms of not just training the new employees and onboarding them, but also to identify kind of the missing information from the documentation and that sort of thing. And when you have all of the documentation, you can transition it to kind of customer facing to reply to the questions. And the
Cool.
next step would be to kind of separate the questions that are being asked and escalated to live chat agents and start automating them slowly. So the bot will filter out 70% of questions automatically because the questions are simple, like how much it costs, what are your opening hours, etc., etc. But then some of the questions will be inevitably escalated to live chat agents, and you will need reporting on what topics the users are asking about that get escalated, and try to find a solution to automating that as well. So something
Cool.
along those lines.
Cool.
It's a
Cool.
it's a
Thank you.
complex
So
process at the
actually,
very beginning. Oh, I'm sorry.
that takes me to the topic of our next meeting. Next week, we will look at into a specific case of how these large language models can be orchestrated and applied to a specific case. We'll take a specific company, we'll look into the use case, we'll look into the company structure and how everything can be orchestrated for their customer service. Stay tuned.
Wonderful.
And Ina, thank you so much for the today's podcast.
Appreciate the chance to talk about my favorite topic, AI. Thank you so
Amazing.
much to everyone who has come today. If you have any follow-up questions after the live is ended, please feel free to ask them at ask@activechat.ai. Again, you can ask AI-related questions, not necessarily connected to ActiveChat, but obviously, if you would like to try ActiveChat out, also reach out. We'll be more than happy to give you a tour. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful rest of your day.
Bye bye, guys. Thank you.